Hello.
Hello.
I'm Carol, and this is Eric, and we are Flirting with Reality.
All right. So I guess now would be a good time to let everybody know that we switched those off.
Yeah,
And
I think they might. Our regulars know.
yeah. But in case they didn't know, those are never rehearsed.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they can't tell.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not scripted.
Yeah. So, episode 27, I was a little confused last week. I thought it was 25, 26, but it was 26. So this is 27. Hard to believe, I guess, that we've done 27.
It is. Most people don't make it past 10.
Yeah, so I guess 27's about it's better than 6 months, but 27 would be half 52, but we've missed a couple weeks, so we've been doing this over 6 months.
Well, we've been doing it almost a year, but we had like a huge technical difficulty in the beginning. I think we started in February.
We did?
Pretty sure.
What do you mean? We just didn't do podcasts for a while?
Well, we had a vacation in between, but we were doing them and they just wouldn't upload for a long time.
Oh, and so we lost a bunch?
We did lose some.
Oh. Well, okay. That's as good as I remember. So what's been happening in Carol Lee's life?
Oh my God. Can you see the smile on my face? I mean, we've talked to them about the sauna and the cold bath last week and breathing.
Yeah.
So life just keeps elevating from there. Like, I quit using my phone, which I believe we discussed, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
So I'm on like day 12, no phone. I do some I do some texting, but it's really quite minimal. And that's fucking amazing in itself. But then there's even like more going on, which why don't you tell them what's going on?
Okay, so for the people that didn't, anybody who might miss the last episode, I don't know who, but so we got the sauna. We're doing 30 minutes of sauna, and then we get in the cold bath, 2 or 3 minutes ish of cold bath, and then we've been doing breathing. A guy on YouTube, Breathing with Sandy, which his channel's awesome. So if you want to do breathing, you should check him out. You know, I started out with Wim Hof, but there's not a lot of. I couldn't find a ton of Wim Hof breathing, and this Sandy guy, tons of videos. So he's been amazing.
Diverse. Yeah, I like him too.
But his videos are excellent too. Like there's nothing to be desired with his videos. So if you want to do some breathing exercises, it's called Breathe with Sandy, I think. Breath with Sandy. I don't remember what it is.
I think breath.
Anyway, it's something with Sandy on YouTube. We've been doing that. That's been our nighttime routine, which has been pretty awesome. But no, it hasn't been pretty awesome. It's been life-changing.
Yeah, epically amazing.
Yeah, so I've been doing sauna. I personally have been doing sauna for probably close to 8 years. And to be honest with you, sauna has just been something I've enjoyed, I think. I don't think the sauna has been life-changing on a surface level. You know, they say it's good for your health and, 40% decrease in all mortality and stuff, which is a giant deal. But there's nothing that I could measure it by. It's just been something I've enjoyed. So then we got into the cold bath, which we've been doing roughly low 40 degrees, so maybe 42 degrees. I've been sticking around 2 minutes. I do 2 minutes and then I dunk my head under for about 20 seconds. So about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, call it. You've been doing 3
Mhm.
on the
I
dot?
well, I start my timer at 3 and then my timer goes off and I try to count 20 more seconds slowly. So I'm doing, yes, probably maybe a hair over.
I think you're probably doing hair over. I don't think it takes 20 seconds to get in
Yeah,
myself.
I don't either, but I'm trying not to jit myself anything. So,
Um, so cold bath, that's our routines, but a couple minutes. Then, another thing I've been doing is like, I haven't been drip drying, but I'll stand outside the tub. The funny thing is like, you stand outside in like 30 whatever degrees. It sounds like, and wet, it sounds miserable. But the thing is once you get out of the water, the air actually feels warm. So it hasn't been that hard for me. But I get out of the,
yeah, I'm not in a rush like running inside because I'm freezing to death.
yeah,
Yeah.
I actually don't get cold. I'm cold while I'm in the water, but I don't get cold, like start shivering for probably like 3 or 4 minutes afterwards when I get
Yeah,
dressed and everything.
me
That's when
too.
the cold sets in.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been amazing. Like, it's on our deck. The cold bath is on our deck, so it's like a stand there and like just kind of stand there wet in the cold and like look at the stars, or like we have an amazing backyard, so just like look at the backyard, which is just kind of nature. So it's been like, that's all been cool, and I haven't gotten to the cool parts yet, but so I've been doing that. And then we come inside and doing breath work with Sandy, but I don't know. Well, day one for me was, I saw you in the kitchen after I got out of the cold bath, and I was like, I don't know that I can stand up. Like,
Yeah.
it's like that overwhelming on day one, and I don't think you even know what's happening. I still don't actually know what's happening, but it's just like an amazing. I don't know. It just kind of puts you in a different place. Like, I've been way happier ever since we've started it.
I actually think I might know what's happening, but
Well, you can fill us in. I guess it's supposed to be tons of dopamine, but so anyway, we've been doing that, and like I said in our last episode, I've been overall, my overall feeling of well-being has been 1,000 times. Um, I don't have the weirdest thing, and the most awesome thing to me is, I think, like, inflammation of the body, which is all my joints, my back, everything is like, I feel like I can move for the first time in my life. But ever since I remember, since I was a little child, when I'd wake up in the mornings, I would have extreme brain fog. Like, and I've just always considered that not being a morning person. It'd take me till 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then I get going, and then like, and that's why I've always felt like I've been a night person. It's because then I get going at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and even by midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning, like, I'm still going. Like, I don't want to stop. So that's why I think I've always been a night person. But now, this is the first time in my life I wake up and I don't have that brain fog, and I think it's all inflammation in the brain. So that's been, I mean, amazing to say. Like it, but it's. I guess the reason I bring that up is it's not just the morning. It seems like my thinking is much more clear, and I think, like we've talked about on this podcast, when when you, when you like feel good, like, you're just happier. And I
yeah.
think that's where my happiness is coming from, is I just feel better. And it could just all be the lack of inflammation. Could be the dopamine. It could be a lot of things, but um, it's just been a huge impact on my life since day one. And tomorrow will be 21 days in a row. And there have been days in between that I've done it 2 or 3 times in a row. So done quite a few in the last 3 weeks, and it doesn't look it's going to end anytime soon.
I don't ever want it to end.
Yeah, I've already started panicking about summertime because we're just relying on outside temperatures for the cold bath. which is great. But there's going to be 4 or 5 months, not many months around here, that it's going to be too warm. So
I
trying to
think
figure
we'll
that out.
figure it out.
Yeah. But it's been cool because the sauna and the cold bath, I feel like that's all a person might need for, I mean, health and for to be mentally happy and just, I mean, meditation.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing your bike too, and
I am.
still hiking a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still staying active and stuff. Oh, and that was the other thing. I didn't tell you that yesterday, but I went to go give blood yesterday, and my blood pressure is down a decent amount too. Which I think the sauna and cold bath probably helped out a lot too. This is like say this is like that was 2.5 weeks in,
Yeah.
so we'll see. I wonder where the real results will be like in 6 months health wise. But I guess talking about health wise, we kind of had an interesting conversation starting last night. We kind of cut it off because we wanted to talk about it tonight. But um, talking about health, I'm not even sure what happened, but we just started watching Joe Dispenza. You started watching him on a podcast.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I have a few of his books, and I like the Diary of the CEO guy. So I started watching that. And I've never seen Joe Dispenza on a podcast before. And I was like, babe, you have to. I quit watching it so we could watch it together.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
Like, finish it. Because it was so profound to me what he was saying. It was such an epic like thing, and it sunk in so clearly, and I knew you would like agree.
And actually, I guess to back up, I do know where it came from. Was we watched. Well, I think that might have been how it all started. Is we were doing breathing with Sandy, and he was doing a Joe Dispenza breathing technique. And then because I think we did the Joe Dispenza breathing technique with Sandy, then we had an advertisement come up for the Diary of the CEO podcast, which had Joe Dispenza, which was actually a pretty amazing teaser, if you remember. Like he had a really good teaser, the advertisement, and he was like, Joe Dispenza's like, and you can change your life by doing this. And he'd cut you off. And then that's when you started watching it. And I didn't really know you thought it was that good. But I wanted to watch it because I saw the trailer and the trailer looked amazing. And so I knew that you went and picked up and watched it. And so I was watching it without you, I think, for a minute. And then we kind of just both like settled into it. But it was, I don't even know what happened. I don't even know what happened. It's just all of a sudden, like I was in this mind space with the bath and the sauna and the breathing. And then all of a sudden I watched this Joe Dispenza podcast, and it was just like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, everything was so clear on
So clear, yeah.
how the program works, which is basically what we've been talking about on here, but it's even deeper than you like imagine.
Well, and I guess that's the interesting part and the funny part and my vulnerable part here is, we talk about the zombies, we talk about being unaware and like doing this. And so it's my turn, to say like, so we watch this Joe Dispenza and he's like, I mean, I'd have to watch it again, but how does he say it? He says like, basically, what are your thoughts doing to you all day long? Right? Isn't that kind of what he's saying? Is like, what are your thoughts doing? And or he's saying like, what's your life? Like, how are you living your life? How did he say it?
Well, are you living your life unconsciously, like letting your thoughts rule your day? Or are you living your life from a place of choosing and creativity and gratitude? And like you
Yeah.
can either be living in the system or not living in the system. And then he gives an excellent explanation of everything.
Well, and I guess he just put it in such a way that that it really hit home with me, because it was, to me, he put it in a way that was like, are you enjoying your life? And if you're not enjoying your life, how are you thinking about it? And he went into like how people people live in their past. People live in the moment in the past.
Yeah, you're in survival mode
Yeah.
if you're living in the past.
Yeah. And so we watched it, and I remember thinking like, wow, that was amazing. But then the thing is I think this is how it happened. Like, it's so funny. I can't remember how it really happened, but I think I went out to go work the next day, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, all of a sudden I was hyper aware of my thinking. I was hyper aware of my thoughts. And I was like, wow, I am so abusive to myself and with my thoughts. And it was, like he said in the podcast, he's like, well, now you've seen it. And once you see it, there's just no turning back. And so I've been monitoring my thoughts. What is this, 2 days, 3 days?
I think 3 days.
2 or 3 days. And I've been monitoring my thoughts, and I've been like, wow, I cannot believe I have been living my life like this. Like, I have been like torturing myself on a regular basis. And to be fair, I don't think like I'm torturing myself every moment of every day, but when I'm working, it's almost every moment that I'm working, which is a huge deal, which is a giant deal.
Yeah.
And, even like I was telling you, when I went on my hikes, like my brain was just like, let's just go with everything that has been bothering you. Like, let's just let it eat you up. So I've just been watching my thoughts and just been like, holy crap, like, I've got to change this. Like, I have got to figure out. So it's been awesome because I have been changing it. And I feel like just even recognizing it is a giant step. And like Joe said, like, once you recognize, you can't, I mean, I guess there's a lot of people that probably disassociate and just think about something else, but that's not how I work. Like, all day today, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing again. Like, here I am again, here I am again, here I am again. And so I'm like constantly correcting myself all day, which is fine. But it is getting better. And it's like my days have actually gotten better just overall.
So I was reading his book tonight, and I couldn't wait to talk about what I read, which was basically you have these, so chakras are a real thing. He can scientifically, like tell you about like each section of your body, and they kind of each have like a mind of their own. So basically, your energies can get stuck in your bottom 3 solar plexus, I believe it's what it's called. And it can be released with a breath work. So you can have these survival things like energy stuck. And I believe this recipe of sauna, cold bath, and breathing, like, moved that energy, this past stuck energy, and allowed awareness and whatever perfect formula to take place to receive that podcast clearly.
But I think you brought up a great point too. I think it was yesterday when you were saying, like, if you want to start changing your life, and say you're eating like crap, you're not exercising, you've got a bad spouse or partner or whatever, you got a bad job, you got blah blah blah, blah, blah. Like, it's really hard to change your life because there's so much negativity and so much happening to you. Like, it's
Yeah.
so, like that's survival mode.
It is.
When
For
you
sure.
have 10 things against you, how do you flourish? Like basically you can't. Basically you just need to start picking apart everything to
Yeah.
get everything in line.
Unfolding in layers.
Yeah. So,
Working on it in layers.
and I think that was great advice that you had, because I think that's right. I think if anybody was listening to this and their life's in the dumps and they hate it, I don't think you just go, well, hey, well, how do I make my life great? Well, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go find a partner. It's gonna make my life great. And like, yay! Like, no, man. It's like you've got to really like just like you're saying, pick everything apart. You got to like get down in there and break things up. And I think that's what you were talking about that made sense to me is like doing the sauna and the cold bath really started ironing things out for me and like clearing things up. And maybe like I'm saying, like this inflammation in the brain, like I'm just not ready. Like if I don't have my life ironed out to a certain point, I'm not ready to move on to the next stage.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like kind of what might be happening here is like, oh, okay. Like I've had plenty of other stuff to work on. And I think that's the thing is like I've been busy working on those things and I just haven't been ready to move on because that's what I'm saying is like we talk about this and I think anybody who thinks that they don't have a little bit of zombieism in them is crazy. Like I think everybody has flaws and it's just crazy to see how giant my flaw was this week, you know.
Well, we all have layers, and I think you're unfolding until you're not here anymore. There's no
Yeah.
reason to judge that. It's just
I'm not judging.
you're.
I'm
No,
just
I'm
saying.
not saying you are.
Oh,
I'm just saying for anyone out there, it's
yeah.
just your journey.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like anybody who, you know, like that's what I'm saying is like I just found out like I was seriously in like this zombie mode, you know, so it's like, and that's fine. Like it's the point is growing,
Yeah.
right? The point isn't like, hey, I'm not a zombie and you are. In fact, if you do think that, maybe you've got some things to work through. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just interesting to always be able to like I'm saying, I guess I'm trying to say like I pulled out this giant flaw in myself. I pulled out a flaw and it's amazing. The thing is like it's not a bad thing. It's an amazing thing to be able to see these flaws. Like if you were a seriously flawed person, it's almost like you should admit to these flaws because once you see them and you admit to them, holy cow, your life's gonna be so much better.
I'm not sure if it's a flaw. I think I know you might feel like it's a flaw, but if you look back on like situations that you've overcome, do you look back on them in a positive, like this really created steps for me to become this person I am today? So I think it's just part of that formula.
Well, I maybe there's a better word than flaw.
I mean, I get why you're calling it a flaw. I don't know. I don't think it's a flaw, but I can see.
Well, I don't think flaw is necessarily a bad thing. You know,
I don't either, but I don't think you're flawed because you've realized something about yourself that you want to change.
well, whatever you want to call it, this thing where I'm maliciously beating myself up all
Yeah.
day long and making myself feel like crap, whatever that is amazing to find because now it's like I'm on the hunt and I'm going to stop it. And I feel like it's so amazing and it's such a great thing to find because I feel like it is a giant piece of the puzzle for even more happiness. Like it's not like a little tweak. It
Mm-mm.
is a giant thing in my life that has been holding me down. So it's just awesome to see. It's amazing to see. And it's amazing to even work on it. But I don't know. I don't know if that's how most people feel about finding these. How about an issue? It's an issue.
I mean, we're flawed humans, But another thing that I loved that Joe Dispenza said is he's like, this is the experiment of life and you can have fun with it. And I am having a fucking blast with it. And I'm looking at it more like, yeah, this life is a fucking experiment. Enjoy it. Like,
So, about how many people do you think look at life that way? How many, like, if anybody watches this, like, it'd be interesting to hear a comment of if you noticed something about yourself, like if you just had an insecurity about how you're not good, like, what if you knew you weren't? What if you knew that you had an insecurity and you didn't think you're as good? I guess most people run from those issues, right?
yeah, but I think that's part of the program. I I think that this program doesn't want you, it wants to survive and it wants to keep you here, and that's why you keep going back there.
Yeah. No, and that's the interesting thing is I watch my thoughts, and like we talked about, it's so crazy that you can be like, okay, well, I'm not doing this today. I'm a different person. And then like 2 seconds later, your brain's like, we're thinking about it again. And you're like, oh, like, how did this happen? Like, why am I here? Like, how did this? It's because it's so crazy how true it is that we are in a program.
Yeah.
And that's what Joe is talking about. And like, I'd never watched Joe Dispenza in my life before, but we'd kind of, or I don't know, I think you'd kind of been coming to the same conclusions that we're in a program, we're in a movie, and that movie has a plot, and that movie really wants the story to be told a certain way. And when you come in there and you go like, hey, listen, I just wrote a new line. They're like, no, you didn't. There's no new lines in the movie. You don't change your script. You don't change who you are. You don't change anything. Like, this is a movie and you're sticking to it. And that's where I've been at is I'm like, no, I'm not playing this part anymore. I'm not doing this part. And the movie's like, yes, you are. And it pulls out all the tricks to make sure that you stay there and you play your part in the movie. And so it's a trip to watch, like, the battle between you and your brain.
I've been reading on why that happens, and it's really intriguing and interesting, and I'm not going to try to explain it, but the Supernatural book that Joe Dispenza wrote, if you're interested in understanding like the science behind it and how your body is working and why it's doing this, pretty interesting.
You don't have like the gist, like, or you're not there yet.
No, I just read it today. No, I don't want to try to muck it up.
I mean, did you get any understanding out of it? Or are you just starting? Because it seems
Well,
like that's like the answer to the world.
I mean, I think a scientist should probably be telling these people, but basically, like he said, you are living in your past. So there's some instance that I'll just make something up for myself to try to explain, but let's say I'm having insecurities about our relationship and I'm jealous. And my I have these recurring thoughts every day, and I'm totally just making this up, that I can't trust you. And it's comes from some experience in my past. And basically, the more you think these thoughts, so let's say the experience happens, and then I'm like, I can't trust anyone. I'm not worthy. I'm not beautiful, or else he never would have done that. So your body starts like biologically changing to meet these energetic chemicals that you're putting in your body from these negative feedback loops. So you're actually changing the physiology of your body as you create these thoughts, as you think these thoughts. And the more you think them, this is when the energy gets stuck in like one of these three areas. And it actually is what causes disease and like all sorts of things. Was that a pretty good explanation?
I think it's just so deep is the problem. I don't know that you can sum it up.
It's your thoughts. Your thoughts from this experience, the past experience, usually they just continue to double up and maybe like morph into other areas of your life.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying it's so deep. It's so deep because, I mean, I mostly get it, but I don't know, you know, I'm trying not to bring it up, but I don't know how not to. But I think that's what determinism is everything's based on your past. That makes you who you are today. And who you are today determines your present, unless you break it.
Well, that's what Joe Dispenza said on that podcast is you have zero free will in this state. And if
Yeah.
you think about it, like I don't know if you feel this way, you can kind of like as you see yourself having these thoughts while you're working, you're not in control. This
Oh
thing
no.
is controlling you, so you don't. I mean, you're starting to take control though. So this is where you go, no, I don't want to be this person anymore. And you change your physiology.
Yeah,
You
and
rewrite your program.
that's why, like, I think it's such a great example of determinism, is because, yeah, it's the thoughts you're thinking are just like he's using the term subconscious, and that's what I've always said too, is like a subconscious is it's running the show. And that's what being a zombie is like that's what he's saying, like you check out and then your subconscious is running the show. And when you consciously come back in, which it's so funny because I've had all these thoughts and he just like summed them up and like organized them and like had them so much better.
Yeah, he was really good at explaining how when
Yeah.
you have an issue, you're very focused. And when you're
Yeah.
focused, your brain is
Stress.
scattered. Like, but if you go meditate, your brain like just goes into a harmonious place and is able to just, yeah, he did
Yeah.
explain it very well.
He explained meditation better than I've ever heard anybody explain, which I think the way is what you just said is almost our whole life is all about stress and all about fear, all about, you know, whatever negative emotion. And that makes you hyper focused because you're trying to deal with the situation.
You're in that survival mode.
You're in the survival mode. And so you're so stressed. And then this goes back to like one of our earlier podcasts about how your mental state can cause disease and it can cause problems with your body, like a heart attack. Everybody knows you can have a heart attack if you're too stressed out. Like your blood pressure goes up and just everything goes. So it's like you can 100% you can create physical illness with your mental state. So, but that's what he was saying was if you're stressed from Becky at work, then you focus because it's a survival instinct to focus and fix the problem. But when you're so focused, that's creating high blood pressure. It's causing stress. It's causing negative things, not only in your mind, but also in your body. And then he was saying, like, when you go meditate, meditation is about thinking about nothing, which is the opposite of focusing. And if you're not focusing, then you're not stressing, and then you're not high blood pressure, and then you're not stressing your body, you're not stressing your mind. I mean, amongst other things, a million other things, but it's just like, yeah, it was just a mind blowing podcast, and that's what I was saying is like, it's so funny that I was like, who the fuck is Joe Dispenza? And it's like I know you've talked about him 1,000 times, in the past, and I've heard other people talking about it 1,000 times, and I'm just like, yeah, Joe Dispenza, yada yada yada. And then I watched him once, and I'm like, holy shit, he just changed my life. He
Yeah,
just
I
changed my
mean,
life watching him once.
he's he's studying meditation from a scientific aspect, and it's amazing.
Well, and that's the funny thing is like how it's I think, you know, some of these things, like people are like meditation is woo woo, and like all these things are woo woo, but it's like all of a sudden, like, well, there's some proof behind this. And I don't, like I'm saying, like, is somebody going to argue that if you're stressed out, you can give yourself a heart attack? Anybody going to argue that today? Like, that'd be a crazy thing to argue. Like, we all know this, right? And it's like you can just whittle that down to like, you know, being peaceful and like your thoughts. And it's like it all connects together. And it's like, it's just crazy. You know, and he was saying, it's, I don't, but here is the hard part to understand is like he's saying you got to believe and you've got to put these thoughts into process, because that's the funny thing is like if you're listening to this and you're sitting at home and you're like, it's a little crazy, I don't think you can change your life with thoughts. Guess what? You can't. You can't, because you don't believe in it. And so that's the trippy part, right? Is like if you do believe you can change your life, does that mean it's reality? Well, I don't know. That's debatable, but it is your reality.
Yeah.
And your reality that I just talked about, where you say you can't change, yeah, you can make that your reality. So no, there's no such thing as a common reality. It's just like what we're making it. And it's, you know, it's just crazy to like listen to like Rob Dyrdek, and he's like, this is like what I'm going to do to reality, and I'm going to mess it all up. And he just goes out there and owns it and just like does all this crazy stuff. And it's because he believes. You know, we're like, you and I are talking about AA, going to AA, and we're like, well, we just believe that we could quit drinking alcohol. We just believe that, and so we do.
Yeah.
And then there's other people like, nope, man, you gotta submit to God, and like you gotta go through the 12 steps. You gotta, and then even then, you're on the brink of going back to alcohol. And it's like, well, I don't believe that shit. I don't believe it, and because you do believe it, is why it will happen to you. And it's just like, oh, so everything's so crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
It's so crazy. Like everything in life is just what you make it. It's what you think and what you make happen.
It is. It absolutely is.
I mean, yeah, and then you got to figure out where the limitations are on that, if there are any, right?
Yeah, I don't know what, I mean, I'm thinking you can be unlimited.
Well, the craziest example that Joe Dispenza had was the lady who
Grew her
meditated and grew
thyroid.
her thyroid back. She had her thyroid cut out and grew her thyroid back, which is like, oh, okay, he's lying now, you know. But it's like, I mean, okay, like I'm open to listening to it,
He
but
said he even had a hard time with that one.
well, who wouldn't? That's the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. That lady must be a powerful woman. I mean, assuming that's true, but it's just so crazy. You got lady over here that's like, "Hey, I'm going to grow my thyroid back," and then you have people over here that are going, "You, there's no reason to. This is all crazy talk. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I'm changing the channel, you know?" And it's like, but that's where we're at, right? Is spectrums of people, and like, it's, I don't know. It's wild, especially today with everything that's going on.
Well, it's really wild to think that you could be making yourself miserable. Like, you could literally be like, my boss is such a piece of shit. Becky sucks. She's driving me fucking insane. Job is fucking miserable. And all these things, these thoughts are physiologically fucking up your body and like even making you more miserable and unhealthy at the same time. Like it can cause you health problems.
Yeah, but I don't think it's. if you have these problems, I mean, like, this has to be a vast majority of people that do this, isn't it?
Oh, I'm not gonna.
I mean, don't you think?
I mean, didn't he say that it's 2% of the population or 2% that meditate? He said something about 2%.
Yeah, I don't remember what he said.
I don't either, but
But
I
I'm just saying the people that drag themselves through shit like I'm doing, there's got to be almost, I mean, it's got to be
I
99.9%,
think it
right?
would be the majority of the population, and like they don't have any idea.
No idea.
I remember once before I met you posting on Facebook about mindset, and maybe I did. I think it was Albert that was like, there's no such thing. Like, I don't have thoughts randomly throughout the day. And I mean, I don't even,
Could be true.
I don't even like talk or try to convince anyone otherwise. That's his reality. That's his truth, right? It's like Joe Dispenza said, if someone doesn't want to believe that you can change your life by changing your thoughts, that's their truth. That's
Yeah.
his truth.
Yeah,
But I
reality.
do believe that that is a lot of people's truth.
Yeah, well, that's what we're saying, right? Is you can make your reality whatever you want. But why would you choose that reality? Why would you choose to
Because
not
you're
be
in a
able to change your
program.
life? Yeah, I mean, I guess. I guess.
You're in a program that you can't get out of because it's consuming you.
But that's the other trip that we were talking about, is how many people are in the program that think they're outside the program. And then they talk shit about people in the program, and they're in there with them. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, is like, you could maybe even include me in that group, because I just found out that I'm well in the program a lot of the time.
I think any spiritual guru would tell you it's not your place to tell anyone what they need to be doing or like judging someone for their programming or whatever it is. I mean, it's their journey. Maybe they'll get out of the program, maybe they won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the experiment of life. And if you want to stay there, then yeah, stay there.
Yeah. So I guess it's just been mind blowing to, I mean, that's what I was telling you, just having the sound of the cold baths, the breathing, like, it's such a substantial slap in the face. It's been such a
Life
change of life.
altering in such a good fucking way. I've never been happier, and I am a happy fucking person.
Well,
I
that's,
consider
yeah.
myself to be I've been happy for years.
But that's what I was thinking, is I was thinking about how I consider myself to be a very happy person, and then how awesome it is that I can consider myself a very happy person, and then I find this giant issue, that if I take care of this giant issue, my life will be propelled so much further.
Yeah.
And so how happy am I going to be when I get this all sorted? Which I don't even think it's going to take that long.
No.
And whatever that means, it could take 6 months to a year, but that's not very long.
No, not in the scheme of life.
No, but it's like but that's the thing I don't get about people who are like, yeah, you can't do that, you can't change your, like, man, don't you want to be happy?
Yeah.
Like, why do people like being unhappy? Like, it's just so.
I don't know, but it's kind of like Joe was talking about it as events where people get like super excited and start really falling in love with their life. I'm loving this whole entire, like, the experiment of life, working on these things. I'm loving it. I've fallen in love with it. I thought I was in love with my life before.
Yeah.
I'm even more madly in love with it now.
Well, and we only talked about it at the beginning, but we're not talking about your phone experience, how you have left your phone and how it's just making you so much happier.
I can't even tell you. I do not miss that thing. It's propelled me to like even take it steps further in other areas and really just be like fully present in my life.
Well, and this is something we've talked about on past podcasts also, is how I feed off you and you feed off me,
Yeah, for sure.
and how you not using your phone has, like, okay, so Joe Dispenza opened up my eyes to this thing, and I'm like, holy crap, there's this thing that I can deal with now and make my life better. But then all of a sudden you're introducing me to this thing like about the phone, and so I've been looking at the phone totally different now. And I'm like, holy shit, now that I'm seeing the phone, like I can't not deal with this at the same time either. So I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, I can't even be on this thing anymore because it's bothering me so bad. But I'm still trying to manage like running a business off of it and like email and all that crap. And there's some things that I don't care about that I think you're enjoying right now. Like I don't mind checking like stocks and crypto and um, the weather. The weather doesn't bother me. You know, it's just like social media and like emails and texts bother me so bad. Um, but it's all like we've just been thriving, I guess. And
Yeah.
I think we talked about this on our last podcast, but we're like even going further with it. Like we just bought the supplies to double our hydroponics. So if it's possible, we're talking about eating just off hydroponics, and our chickens are going to start laying eggs in maybe a month and a half. So eggs, hydroponics, and then buying beef literally from the guy around the corner. That's all grass fed, natural, and not even going to the store. Like, and that's all whole foods, unprocessed,
Yeah.
nutritious. Like it's, I mean, but that's what I'm saying is like, I think it was a couple months ago. I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, there's a point where you reach diminishing returns on, you're just getting a little crazy with your health now. You know what I mean? But that's not the way it's looking.
No.
The way it's looking is like, oh my God, like I need to put a seatbelt on because my life is being propelled and is getting so much better by every second that I almost can't handle it.
I think it's like what Rob Dyrdek was talking about when he was trying to
The abundance
explain
vortex.
to people how like he would diet and work out, but he would cheat a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then he kind of realized, you know, when I'm not cheating at all, like things get a little crazier. Then when I check in with my wife every Tuesday and make sure she's doing okay, it's even crazier. Or I make sure I call my mom and dad. He names them by their names. I don't know why, but like he's like really discovered this abundance vortex, and and why not call it that? It is really, it just keeps getting fucking better. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it is like put your seatbelt on.
Well, I think like you've been saying, like I've considered myself to be a happy person for years now. And I've been happy, but I haven't been like, oh my God. And that's kind of how it's starting to feel right now. I was like, what is happening? Like, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe, like, if I just relax and I do this, like, I still have this and I don't have to worry anymore. And it's like, woo, like, oh my God, everything's like working out. And like, it's like there's less pushing things to get things done. There's more just like letting things come to you.
Flow.
And yeah.
A natural flow.
Yeah. Well, just existing, which is kind of funny because it's kind of like, that's the funny part is if you believe in a program, if you believe in the system, kind of like I do, like a determinism, why are you pushing things anyway? Because things are the movie is going to be told the way the movie is going to be told, no matter what you do. So you might as well just relax and get some popcorn and a soda and watch the movie while it's happening. To a point, like you want to interrupt the movie, but you
To
want
a
to make the movie the way you
degree,
want.
yes, yes,
You want to make the movie the way you want, but the movie's still going to go on.
yeah.
The movie, your role in the movie, you can change your role in the movie, but we're still watching Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's still Back to the Future. It's just you're just the guy that walks past Marty McFly 1,000 times, but now you're going to walk past and you're going to be part of the movie if you want to be, or maybe you're going to be doing whatever you want in the movie. Like you can choose your role in the movie, but it's the same movie because everybody else is in the movie and they are not going to change.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, but yeah, I don't know. It's there. I don't know. I don't know anybody like that would be watching this or listening to this, like what they would be thinking, like if this sounds crazy or if like, oh yeah, I totally get it, or like I don't know what.
Well, it's like we talked about too. Like I read Joe Dispenza's book 2 years ago and stopped about halfway through. And it didn't hit me the way it is hitting me now. So you just are capable of hearing things when you're capable of hearing things.
But to take that back, that's what you were making that great point about is like you might not be capable of hearing things unless you get other things cleared out.
Yeah.
And then you're in a certain space to even hear those things, because that's what I'm saying is how simple is it to be like, hey, Eric, you have been killing yourself while you work by criticizing yourself or worrying
Well,
about
you
criticism.
can't tell anyone that, right? Someone has to figure it out themselves.
But that's the funny thing is we've even talked about it, like how I am very aware of my thoughts, or I thought I was very aware of my thoughts and my feelings at all times. And all of a sudden, like, I'm like, oh my God, like I haven't been aware of my thoughts and my feelings this big portion of my day. And that's what I'm saying is it's interesting that I'm pretty good unless I'm working, but if I'm working, it's just game. Like it's like I've been thinking a lot about like, well, where did this start? When did this start? You know, and I think running a business is super stressful, and you can get caught up in that. And like, I don't know. There's just it's an interesting thing that like, you know, we took some time off the last couple of years, and I wasn't working. And I think that's why it's so enjoyable is there was no beating myself up. I wasn't working. I was enjoying my life, you know, and I was even thinking about that like a vacation. Vacation, you're not working, you know, and so you don't put yourself in the program necessarily, and you don't be like I think work is can be a really difficult thing for, I'm guessing,
It
at
can.
least me.
No, it really can. But so what are you doing to get rid of those thoughts?
Well, that's the challenge. That's what Joe was talking about was, you know, I've been thinking about it, and like the funny thing is I started out and I was like, okay, I'm having the feelings, and then I would distract myself. But I think we watched his next podcast, and then he was talking about distractions, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not really dealing with the feelings if I'm using distraction. So that's kind of where I went with it first was like, I would think about a customer that's been yelling at me. He's unhappy or something. And then I'd be like, let's think about flowers. Like, oh, flowers. Or let's think about, like, I would look for distractions. And then that's when my subconscious would creep back in and I'd be thinking about it for seconds. And then I'd be like, oh, how did I start thinking about this again? And that's what Joe explains is like, that's where meditation comes in, is you need to think about these situations before they happen because your body is basically knowing how to deal with it, like walking. Like you don't think about how to walk, your body just knows how to walk. It just does it. So when I go to work, I don't think about working, my body just knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, is I have taught myself, or I've gotten the position when I go out to work, that this is how I work. When I walk, this is how I walk. when you talk, that's how you talk. It's like everything is programmed in. So that's what he's saying is like you have to meditate and basically think about when you go to work what you're going to be doing, because you need to reprogram how you think when you go to work. Or if you're going to reprogram like how you walk, you need to think about, like, say you want to skip from now on, which is probably a horrible example, but if you want to skip, you need to like meditate and think about when you go from point A to point B, you don't walk anymore, you skip.
Yeah,
And
so setting that intention.
yeah, you got to figure out who you want to be, and you have to trick, because this is the interesting part too, is he's saying your body doesn't know the difference between thinking about working and working. And that's so true, because like I've talked about this on a previous podcast too, which is funny, is like a lot of times I'll think about getting into like physical altercations with a person. And that really started coming on strong when I was doing jujitsu, because like you think about like somebody coming up to attack you and you're like, well, I'm going to grab your arm and then I'm going to do an arm drag. Then I'm going to take his back and choke, like there's just like, it's kind of like a process of thinking about how I'm going to do self-defense on this person that's attacking me. But the funny thing is while you're thinking about that, your body doesn't know the difference between thinking about how to do jujitsu and actually being in a fight. Like you can get those same feelings of actually being in a fight.
Yeah, that's what he was saying about the piano playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's super interesting to think about that. So anyway, that's where I think I need to go with this next. Is I've had to put time in, and I've had to start thinking like, that's the hardest part for me is, okay, if I don't want to go to work and think about being criticized by the entire world, what do I want to think about while I'm at work? And I mean, like anybody that's listening to this can, like, if you have a moment of like, maybe you don't think you're good enough, what do you want to think about when you're not thinking about how you're not good enough? What do you want to think about all day? And it's like, that's kind of like, I can think of like one or two things that might last a couple of minutes that I can think about, but where do I want to be the whole time? And, that's what I started thinking about yesterday is I just want to be, some of it, I want to have gratitude. I just want to look at everything and be like, this is so awesome. Like, I can't believe I'm here right now doing this. I can't believe I'm able to walk around and work on things.
I think that's an excellent suggestion too for other people if they're not able to just come up with something to think about.
What do you think about?
Well, I mean, what I have been working on is like when I run into people with negative energies, not letting it like adjust my energy. So I'm really working on deeply coming from a place of love and kindness at all times, even when someone's not. So that's one thing I've been working on. But like things that I think about is really, I don't know if I have told you this, but I do like a gratitude session every morning, like first thing when I wake up. It's gotten shorter because I've been doing it for so many years. But yeah, it's like really like I appreciate my body and what it does for me and that I'm able to work out and like all the physical abilities that it gives me to see and experience foods and hear you talk or talk to my kids. And like I really kind of go deep with it. I'm super grateful that I get to wake up in this bed every morning. And I mean, I think it's because I've been practicing meditation for so long. I don't like go to a lot of negative places, but I of course have some negative thoughts. And I've been going, who do I want to be right now? Like when we had that thing the other night, that when the bowling alley thing, and when I came to you and asked you if I hurt your feelings, that is not a person that is easy for me to come. Like, I want to withdraw, but I see that happening. And this is one of those instances where I go, who do you want to be, Carol? Do you want to be this old fucking Carol that withdraws and like then you both are ignoring each other for 3 days? Or do you want to keep this fucking connection with your husband and like be who you want to be here? So that's like a discussion I have at a moment that's kind of like I feel that old Carol like wanting to press and go, just no, just give him space, give him time, like just. But then I'm like, no, who do you want to be? Because I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that you can talk to and know that I will come to you and be there. So that's like a place I go when like something's rearing its head that I don't want to be there.
What? Well, I feel like you're talking about like situations that you get put in, which makes sense. I'm talking about like what do you think about all day long? Because that's my problem. Isn't conflicts that I run into. It isn't people necessarily. It's more like if I'm at the grocery store and somebody is like aiming their cart at me, trying to run me over. It's not that moment that bothers me. It's hours later thinking about fuck that person
Oh,
or
I don't think about it hours later. So my day is really very positive.
what do you think about? That's what I'm saying. What do you
I
think about?
think about the future. I think about how I want my day to go. I think about I want to be kind to all the people that I run into. So like something I've started doing is paying attention to people's name tags and saying hi, Evelyn. She's like people say hi, Carol all the time, and I don't know. I'm just like, hey. Well, now I'm just like trying to really, I don't know. I think about kindness and love and how I can better myself and where I can grow. And
Hmm.
I have a lot of ridiculously positive thoughts, but it's a lot of practice. Of course, I haven't always been that way. I think meditating for 2 decades has like completely given me the ability to have a lot of positive thoughts throughout the day, but I also have times where I'm not thinking at all. And I know that you think that's weird, but I literally have a lot of that.
Hmm. I think that's pretty amazing to think about how to be more kind and how to, plan for your future. I mean, it kind of makes me think that it's like, it's your hobby, it's your interest, which is perfect. And it kind of makes me like think about changing my interests, I guess, because that's what I was thinking about when I'm not working, thinking about being criticized. I think about projects, I think about things I like to make and things I like to do, and I think that's fine. Like
I do too.
it's distraction probably. I
Mm.
think most thinking's probably distraction.
I also think it's like something you enjoy. So I'm
It
not
is,
sure that it's like Joe said, survival mode isn't always bad.
yeah,
So I don't think distraction is always bad. I think it's good to have hobbies.
yeah. It's really I just got to figure out my working situation.
I think you're well on your way.
Yeah, I mean, even today was leaps and bounds better than yesterday, and then yesterday was leaps and bounds better than the day before. So it's still good, and that's what I was telling you is I think like if you think about it, if you are killing yourself all day like I have been, I wonder how many times like I feel fatigued. I feel fatigued because of what I've been putting myself, not the work. It's not your work that's wearing you out. It's your thinking while you're
Yeah,
working.
that's heavy emotional.
Well, especially when it's conflict,
Yeah.
like it's conflict. A lot of it's like conflict, like fighting other people about what they're doing to me or what they're thinking, what they're pushing on me. Like it's that's what Joe was saying is like your body does not know the difference between actually being in a conflict with somebody and thinking you're in a conflict with somebody.
Yeah, you're just reliving it over and over again.
Over and over. And like, how would you feel if you got in an argument, like a real argument with somebody face to face all day, every day? You'd be exhausted.
Yeah.
You would be exhausted. So anyway, it's just I just got to figure out where I want to be and what I want to think about, and then meditate it through. And I think I'm there. And just practice, obviously. But I don't think it's going to take long or be too hard. I think I'll figure it out real quick.
I think you will too, and I think it'll evolve and morph and get even more amazing, and all an experiment and exciting.
Yeah, I think the worst day of it was 3 days ago, and I don't think there'll ever be a day like that ever again.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess to anybody else out there listening, as I'm saying, the more issues you have, the more shit you got going on in your life, it's actually a good thing because that means that's how much better your life can be if you actually start working on these things. You don't even have to clear all these things out. If you have a million problems, if you just take care of 999,000, whatever, one less than a million, if you just fix one problem, you're going to be a little bit happier.
Another thing too is I think people like identify with their problems. Like if they're sad, angry, or depressed, but it is not your identity. And I think it can, like you'll say I have anxiety, I'm depressed. It's not who you are, and it's changeable.
Well, that was actually another one of the most interesting things he said is I think the reason people probably say like this is who I am is because like he was saying, no, this is who you're addicted to being. You like being this way. And
it's a shocking thing, yeah.
That is a horrible, hard thing to accept that you like being that way. And it took me a minute to think about it, but that's why you keep doing it is because you like putting yourself back in that situation.
It's familiar.
It's familiar. And it's like that was the other thing that tripped me out is like I don't like feeling like crap, but apparently I like putting it's what I'm doing. If you didn't like it, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
It's
an addiction.
Yeah. So but you're exactly right. You're not a victim. You're not depressed. You're not anything that you don't want to be. You're choosing to be all these things.
Yeah.
And your past is your past. It's gone. You got to focus on the present. What do you have now? Like whatever. If you're like, you were kind of giving an example of like, maybe you're insecure because your boyfriend cheated on you. He cheated on you in the past. He's not cheating on you right now. Well, maybe he is, but.
Well, that's another thing to realize is this was huge for me, and I'm just going to take the time to go through it really quick because it's life-changing. I was with my ex-husband was, I don't like to call him a loser because I have children with him, but he was just not a very pleasant person to be married to. And I was at a place that was the person I was attracting. But when I had a aha moment and said to myself, this is not how I want my life to be. I don't want to have relationships like this. But the thing is if I want different relationships, I have to change myself. I attracted this person. So what you can think about is if somebody cheated on you is you were attracting this person at this time, and God only knows why, but it doesn't have to be that way forever. You can attract good people who are loyal and all that great stuff. But I just wanted to
And you
throw
do it
that
the
out
same
there.
way we were talking about.
Yes, it starts just start with one thing. You could even just start. I honestly believe my whole beginning journey, my self-love journey, started with working out. It started with that one piece. Then
Yeah.
I felt empowered, and then I started meditating. And kind of just all these pieces just all started coming together for me. And
Yeah. But that's interesting too, because we've talked about that too. And now it makes more sense, because the start of it for me was also diet and exercise, but not because I felt empowered, but because I guess, like this cold bath, is it's clearing my mind.
yeah.
And it's getting me ready to move on to the next stage. And if I would have never started with diet and exercise, I wouldn't have been ready to move on and better myself. And that's what the cold bath is like. Oh, all of a sudden I can think and I'm more healthy. And like, man, it's crazy to think like, well, what if we do go to straight hydroponics and all homegrown food that could nourish our brains, and then we're ready to move on and like clear more stuff out, and like just progress, momentum,
yes,
momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We're pretty deep, right?
Yeah, we
Hour
are
11.
pretty deep.
Okay. Well, I feel like we could go on for another half hour or more. But if you're interested, it's basically like watch Joe Dispenza on the Diary of a CEO on YouTube. Is where we saw it.
Yeah.
But it's so simple. He breaks it down so simply on how to change your life. I've never heard such a simple explanation on how to actually just change your. It's always been so vague. Well, you just do this. Well, you just, or don't care what people think. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
How do I not care what people think?
Yeah.
You know, it's always been so vague, but he tells it so simply, and well, I think a lot of people should be able to get at least the gist, and then you can keep going and research more if you don't understand. And that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm going to have to do. But it helps me at least figure some things out. But we're going to go. The sauna's on.
Yeah.
The cold bath is like 37 tonight.
Oh, it's calling our name.
I checked the temperature. It's like 37 degrees. And it's going to be 20 degrees this weekend. So I'm hoping it freezes a little bit and gets a crust of ice on it. So, okay. Check it on Facebook, Flirting with Realities, YouTube, and Spotify. We're all on all those things. And maybe someday somebody will watch this or listen to this and want to comment, talk to us. If not, we will just keep making these for ourselves. Episode 27.
Woo!
Yeah.
It's almost 30.
All right. Goodbye.